IB Nation, welcome back to the Irish Breakdown Podcast live here in San Antonio, Texas for the 2024 All American Bowl. Day 4 has just concluded, which means we are only less than 24 hours until the 2024 All American Bowl officially kicks off at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 12 o'clock Central on Saturday. The East squad will take on the West squad at the Alamo Dome here in San Antonio on the East side. You should expect Mr. Keedron Young, star running back, Notre Dame signee in the 2024 class out of Lufkin, Texas, will be playing, as well as Bryce Young, star defensive end out of Charlotte Christian in the state of North Carolina. Obviously, Charlotte, North Carolina. Son and former Notre Dame great and NFL Hall of Famer Bryant Young. They will both be on the field for the East. On the West side, you will have Kingston Viliamo Asa, star linebacker out of St. John Bosco in Bellflower, California, 5-star recruit by Rivals in the 2024 class. Unfortunately, you would not have Cam Williams playing in the football game. Of course, he is the great, prolific wide receiver out of Glenbard South in the state of Illinois. He is going to be okay long term. That's all I can kind of put out there for now. But unfortunately, he will be limited in this football game. So you'll have 3 Notre Dame players. You also should expect Gerby Lambert, who is a elite offensive tackle, 2024 class. That is going to be, and he's out of West Roxbury, Massachusetts, Catholic Memorial. He should be in attendance for the game. He was unfortunately not able to play. He had a minor lower body injury that is not at all troubling or concerning it in any sense, but he was not able to participate in the football game. You should expect him to be on site in San Antonio on Saturday for the game to enjoy the festivities. So I wanted to break down, now that all the practices are concluded, I wanted to kind of do a weekend review podcast here. So I'm not going to talk so much about what I saw on Friday because, folks, all I saw was walkthroughs, and it's not riveting stuff. But we have a 4-day sample size and 5 total practices of the Notre Dame signees in the 2024 class that were on site in San Antonio. So I want to talk about what I saw, what I learned, things I loved, still things I want to see kind of moving forward to the next level, because all 4 of these players that were playing this week are early enrollees. So they'll be at Notre Dame in a week. They will be there for winter conditioning. They will be there for spring ball, and then obviously so on and so forth into fall practice. So let's break this down with the 2 that have the side that had the guys that played most of the week, a little bit more than the West. Start with the East. Bryce Young, defensive end, Charlotte Christian in the state of North Carolina. Again, son of former Notre Dame great Bryant Young. So the first thing, and I talked about this, the first day, you just kind of want to see body type. You want to see how these guys look in person. And this was my first time seeing Bryce Young in person. Now, I saw him in film an awful lot, obviously, over the last year. So I knew that he was going to be a very long and athletic-looking kid. But you really don't appreciate it until you see a guy in person for the first time. You really don't. This is why NFL scouts and scouts in general, body typing is such an important thing. They want to see these players up front, up close and personal, because not only can they see just what the frame is now, you can also project a little bit. Like, how much weight can you comfortably put on a frame and not sacrifice athleticism? And I have talked to several people, and this is just not my opinion. Bryce Young might have arguably the best frame that was down here of any defensive lineman. Now, there's a couple defensive linemen that are further along developmentally. I mean, you're talking about like LJ McCray, who was going to Florida. He is right around 6'4.5" and almost 280 pounds right now. Like, he is physically a little further ahead than where Bryce Young is. But I would contest long term, Bryce Young might have the higher upside from a developmental perspective physically. He is 6'5.5". He's 245 pounds. And the crazy part is despite him being right around 250 pounds at this point, he still looks very skinny. But I look at his frame and I see that he has a lot of good weight on there, but he's still massive everywhere. He's got long arms, big hands, big feet. This is a young man that's going to grow into that body. He's going to start his career as a strong side defensive end for Notre Dame, a field ends, big ends, however you want to coin the phrase. But I would not be surprised, and I said this on a podcast during the week, I wouldn't be surprised if eventually he's an inside player, a 3 technique with his combination of athleticism and size. I think that he could comfortably at some point, not in the near future, but down the line, hold 290 plus pounds. I believe that. At worst, you're going to be talking about a 270-pound strong side defensive end, though, comfortably, like no issue, because you see his body type, you see that he's still growing to his body, and it's not going to sacrifice athleticism. It's not, because his body is not to the point of, there are some guys that you look at and you're like, okay, good frame, but like their body doesn't have much spots left to fill. And if you overdo it with weight, then you're going to sacrifice athleticism. I don't think that's the case with Bryce Young. I look at his frame and I just say, that kid is just going to be big, but he's probably going to get more explosive as he gets older. I believe that. I truly do. So he's going to be a strong side end, maybe an inside player eventually. We'll see how the development happens. But from a day-to-day perspective, the most impressive thing that I took from Bryce Young was he had his wins, but a lot of his wins early on in the week, especially, was just based upon length and athleticism. It was just nothing but physical traits. As the week went further, his coach was Coach Burns, that was coaching the defensive lineman. He even talked about this with me in an interview, was that he was just there to kind of soak everything up. He was treating this as a next step and a little bit of extra practice for enrolling early and getting ready for his next step at the University of Notre Dame. So he looked at this as a coaching opportunity, an ability to learn from a great coach and some other great players around the country. And it was awesome to see in between drills, Bryce Young's off to the side, working his hips, working his hands. Technically, he is refining the finer points of playing the defensive line position. So I'm here to say, guys, watch out. I'm not breaking news right now to tell you that Bryce Young's upside is immense. A 5-star upside kid. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I mean, he's a top 50 player. I think he ended up being a top 50 player in this class, in my opinion, based upon what he did as a senior. I truly think he made that type of jump. But there's still a lot more room to grow, man. Like, he is just a massive kid, and the upside is literally through the roof here. So Bryce Young had a big week. I'm looking for him to cap off tomorrow, obviously, in the 2024 All-American Bowl. Another guy that I was really looking forward to watching for different reasons, because Keidron Young, the running back out of Lufkin, Texas, he's already pretty much physically ready to play on the college level. I mean, he played in at 225 pounds during the season. He's down to 217 pounds. He actually shed a little bit of weight, but man, that's a good 217. He looks like he could legitimately play at 230 pounds without any issue, without sacrificing the explosiveness, short area quickness. It's not going to sacrifice those parts of his game. So I look at Keidron Young, and based upon what he did at Lufkin his last 2 years, I saw vision, power, explosiveness. And you saw that very quickly, right? Like, he is a patient runner. He can find backside cutback lanes. He can really press and really let things come to him. And he's a physically dense and explosive kid with underrated foot quickness. Like, all those things are easy to see. I had no questions about Keidron Young as a just pure runner of the football, man. He is one of the more natural, gifted runners in this class overall in 2024. The thing I wanted to see, and it was a really cool progression to see throughout the week, because the first day, my thoughts was, you caught 3 passes as a senior at Lufkin. I don't know what type of pass receiver you are. I don't know, because you just don't see volume in it. You don't see attempts in it. It's just it's a complete projection based upon high school film. The first day saw a lot of good and some things you wanted to see improvement upon throughout the week. The good was, he's a very comfortable player when he goes out for passes. He's got good hand strength. He is a hands catcher of the football, and he does look comfortable catching the ball, which is good. That's always a good thing. But the things I want to see is, as a route runner, especially when you are working against zone coverage, knowing when to sit down versus when to, work to different spots on the field. I also want to see aiming points as a as a pass receiver. You need to know where to attack blind spots and try to get advantage from a leverage perspective against opposing defensive players, whether that is a linebacker on the second level, whether that's a safety roll down or whatever. You need to be able to understand how to attack a defender in the passing game. There's rawness there, which is to be expected. Like, there were some points where he was running like option routes on day one, where you could see the coach was quickly kind of teaching him as far as like where you're supposed to be attacking, where your eyes go, where your feet need to go, those nuances of playing the position. But the last couple days of practice, there was big improvements there, huge improvements. And I think that I saw that he is loose enough and athletic enough that he can be a route runner on the next level. He can be utilized in the passing game more than just a check down guy. I think that he has some upside in that department. I truly do. So I saw a more well-rounded game this week from Keyshawn Young that I just didn't see at Lufkin. Like, I knew he was a great runner. I knew he was physical, but can he be a guy on third down you can keep in and be a pass receiver? Can he do those types of things? But from his work, especially the last couple days down in San Antonio, I think he can be an all-around running back, which when you add in him with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price and Jabron Payne and Aeneas Williams, man, that running back room put up against anyone in college football, that could be a special group in 2024 and beyond. The crazy part is every one of those players I just said has multi years of eligibility left. I mean, the oldest guy in that room right now is redshirt sophomore Jabron Payne and Jadarian Price. Like, those are the oldest guys in that room that are returning in 2024. So it's still a pretty young room, but it's an ultra talented room, man. From the third year players down to the true freshmen, that group has a chance to be special. And Keydron Young is a big part of that. I want to talk quickly about Cam Williams because there was a lot of good that happened with Cam, despite him being limited, obviously, the first few practices. So, day one, there was one practice. I talked about it earlier in the week. It was a torrential downpour. There just wasn't a lot of completed passes on that day, but Cam was getting open continuously. There was one that I posted, I think it was on the game clips that day, and I was even texting with Cam and sending him the clip. And he uncovered on this dude deep, and he absolutely dusted him, and the ball didn't come his way. But he was wide open, man. And on day two, the first practice, it was better weather. He was in the Alamo Dome that day, and he was uncoverable. Uncoverable for the time that he was on the field. Absolutely uncoverable. Fortunately, he had to miss the second practice of day two. He obviously missed day three, and then he missed day four, and he's not expected to play in the game. So it was a shortened week, but of every rep that I saw of Cam Williams, he cemented what he is in this class. He's an elite level, 5-star talent that is going to be a problem in a Notre Dame uniform. I am so excited to see him because he's a big part of this Chicago movement that we're seeing for Notre Dame to get back in Chicago consistently. I know he's Glen Ellen, so he's technically an out suburb of Chicago or whatever, but he counts. He counts. So getting him, combining it with hopefully a couple nice ads in the 2025 class. Christopher Burgess is going to announce during the game, choosing between Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama. So Notre Dame has a chance to really have a strong push in the state of Illinois and near the city of Chicago in general. And Cam Williams is going to be a huge part of that movement for sure. Wanted to save I want to say the best for last because that makes sounds like a little bit of favoritism there. But I thought that Kingston Viliamoasa, out of all the Notre Dame recruits, signees that were on campus or on site this week, man, I just messed up that sentence terribly. I thought he was the top performer, in my opinion, on either side of the ball. And there were some good linebackers in attendance. I mean, he was with Braden Platt in his own group, who, if you guys remember, linebacker out of Washington, Notre Dame did offer him, and they were trying to recruit him for a while, but unfortunately he was not, overly interested. But despite there being good linebackers on both sides, Kingston Viliamoasa, in my opinion, was the best linebacker in attendance. And I saw a lot of things that I expected. He's got a good frame. He's physical. He's smooth. And he's got great IQ. That stuff was great. But I am here to tell you that, one, we're underselling it when we say that he has great instincts. This kid doesn't have great instincts. This kid has rare instincts. I haven't seen a linebacker on the high school level have as good of a football IQ and instinctual nature than what Kingston Viliamoasa has. He sees the game at an advanced level. He doesn't react to the football. He is proactive at all times. He knows, seemingly, where the ball's going on almost every single play. And obviously, that's hyperbolic. He doesn't know where the ball's going every single play. But you can tell by alignment or by whatever the formation is, whatever it is, the tells of an offense, he has a good idea a lot of the time of what a offense is trying to do to him, which is gives me hope that I think Case is going to come in and he's going to be able to soak everything in pretty quickly and be able to take his game to the next level on a pretty quick note, be able to assimilate and become a potential star at Notre Dame relatively early. I think he can. I really do. He is a special football player. And then there's some instances where I'm watching him. I feel like he's a very underrated athlete because this kid's athletic as all heck, man. The last play of day 3, they were doing field goal and he was on defense. Someone said go. I think it might have been Peyton Woodyard. But Kingston took 2 steps, hurdled the long snapper. I mean, cleared him, not like almost barely got over it, like cleared him and almost made a tackle on a fire where the snapper rolled right. This kid is a very good athlete. Not a good athlete, not a solid athlete, not a proficient athlete, whatever. He's a very good athlete because it's not always about just pure 40 time. I'm sure Kingston's probably a 4.6 something 40 time. It's good. It's very good. But what he can do from a springiness, explosive perspective, he can make plays in pursuit. He can work from the front side. He can work in coverage. He can blitz. This kid is going to play early on in his Notre Dame career for me. Yes, I believe he will. Because although I love the young linebackers and the linebackers that Notre Dame has coming back, I just find it hard to believe that they're just going to be fully keep Kingston off the field. If he is not playing a significant role as a freshman, I would be very surprised. And I've said this for the last couple of days. I think he's going to start at some point in 2024. He's that good. He is that good. Seeing him in person, you really get a deeper understanding and deeper appreciation of just how advanced this kid is from a just understanding the game perspective. So Kingston Viliamu-Asa, special football player, and he showed it this week, one of the elite players at the 2024 All-American Bowl so far. And I just wanted to set a reminder for you all. I kind of mentioned during the podcast a little bit. Defensive end 2025 class out of Chicago, Illinois, Simeon, Christopher Burgess is set to make a decision. He's got finalists of Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, and USC. I mean, not USC, Alabama, excuse me. USC wishes. But so I have a little bit of a commit preview that's going to be out in the morning for listening to this at night, or if it's in the morning, it should be out at irishbreakdown.com. As of right now, just kind of a quick update. We believe that this is a Notre Dame, Ohio State battle. Feel good about where Notre Dame is. I think that they've been closing very strongly here. We'll have to wait for the decision, obviously. But Notre Dame's hoping, obviously, to land one of the top talents on the defensive line in the 2025 class in Christopher Burgess. So make sure you tune in to the game. It'll be a live announcement during the game. It's going to be at 1 o'clock Eastern time, 12 noon Central. Make sure to tune into the 2024 All-American Bowl. And thank you all again for joining me here. And before you leave, hit that like button, subscribe to the podcast, notification bell if you haven't already on YouTube, and 5-star reviews on any and all of your favorite podcast platforms. And we'll be back to talk to you again very soon here on the Irish Breakdown Podcast.